All right, so we're joined from Ridgeland by Madison County Schools parents. It's good to have one from the Titans on with us. Cynathia Cortese, the owner, operator, founder of Key Assets Financial there in Ridgeland. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson. We're recording this for our friends at Ridgeland High School, old Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Germantown, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. And we're in the finance career cluster, which you have such a big part of. So thank you again for taking some time for us today.
Oh, you're welcome anytime.
Now, and you've been with us before, and we always love hearing what you have to say and your journey into finance. So before we get into that, you have an interesting background. You're from Yazoo County, went to Yazoo County High, went to Southern Miss, and kind of saw a need for a finance professional. So take us through that because it's quite interesting.
Yes, so like you said, I am originally from Bentonia, Mississippi. So I grew up in a very rural area. It wasn't a lot of opportunity. I think they have added some new things since I have left. But it wasn't a lot of opportunity. No one really talked to us about finances or anything dealing in the financial industry growing up. Graduated, went off to college, and I found myself in a place that was like I had to make major financial decisions, but I had no type of financial knowledge or really anybody to talk to about it. So I kind of learned through trial and error. And I decided, hey, I don't want other kids to go through this that's coming behind me. So I decided to go into the financial sector and pretty much start teaching the principles that I wish someone had taught me.
Yeah, and one thing that I try to explain to teenagers, and I understand when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, you have a one-track mind, and I was the same way, so I get it. But having a
Yeah.
Cash App card is not being financially sound. I use Cash App; it has its place, but there are so many other things that people need to plan for if they want to get married, if they want to open a business, if they want to, have a will and leave things to their family. So, what are some things that your company does? Because not only being a financial professional, you're also an entrepreneur. So we just talked about entrepreneurs. This is a good segue in seeing that you do own and operate a business, but you also deal with financial principles that people may not be as educated about.
Yeah, I think at this point in life, we live in a microwavable society and we want things right now. So that's what kind of Cash App and, Zelle kind of comes into place. But I think we need to understand that the traditional way is still the way for the most part. So having a bank account, a solid bank account and building a relationship with a solid bank is still very important, especially if you want to get into certain financial opportunities. So you do need to still go in, make sure you know the difference between a debit card and a credit card and when and where you should use both of them. So that's very, very important. Another thing is just knowing how to balance your own finances, knowing the importance of just know how much money you have coming in, how much money you have going out at all times, and how much money you should be saving to reach whatever financial goal that you have. I think those are very basic, principles that we pretty much have to use on an everyday life. I don't think people understand that we make financial decisions every day, all the way down to if I'm gonna put gas in my car or what am I going to eat today. Those are financial decisions. So I think that, you should really take time, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, out of your week or out of your month, and just sit down and just go through your finances and see what you have going on financially.
Yeah, and you mentioned how you came from a rural area, and I know you were raised by your grandparents, and there was not a lot of education, because even my grandparents and your grandparents are the same way. When our grandparents were coming up, they just said, I'm going to get my Social Security one day, and the days of that are past. And I
Yeah.
understand when you're in high school, you're limited on where you can work. I get all that. But, when these kids get out of high school, because some of them are going to go straight into the workforce, which is fine, and they can make some good money. But they don't need to just worry about how much they're making on a paycheck every week. There's so many
Right.
financial decisions that young people need to make now. And I'm not even an expert like you, but I can at least tell you a few things that if these companies are offering you a retirement to match what you're putting in a retirement every month, and you don't put up to the maximum of that, you're absolutely outside of your mind.
Yeah, and I think it's important for them to know why. Like it's free money. So if I'm working for a company and they say, hey, if you put in 5%, I'm gonna put in 5%. That's an extra 5% you didn't have to work for. like it's free money. So I always educate my clients and my mentees. I always put in up to what they're matching. Anything outside of that, you can put into a Roth IRA, which grows tax free. You know, a lot of people are complaining about paying taxes on things. Roth IRAs grow tax free. As long as you're earning an income, you can, invest into a Roth IRA. Or if you're looking for a tax break, some of us are in a situation where our tax liability is high just because the amount of money that we are making. So you can contribute to a traditional IRA, which in returns give you a tax break. So that's another thing that you should probably sit down and look into, like which part of the spectrum do I fall in, and where do I want to fall, to kind of game plan on which one you can contribute to, because you can put yourself in a position to contribute to both.
And you can start when you're 18 years old. You see all these Instagram memes about they need to lower the retirement age. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with an age. Retirement has everything to do with money. And,
exactly.
And I know, and again, I know that I got ninth graders in here with me right now. They're like, I'm not worried about that. I get that. But, you're going to be working until you're 70, 75 years old. And, hard work is great. And it's a great thing to have work ethic. But at the end of the day, it's only going to get you so far if you're not setting aside that retirement account.
That's exactly right. I always use the example, how you go into Walmart and you see that person standing at the door that's like greeting, and like they used to give out the stickers and saying, hey, how you doing? And you have to ask yourself, is that person there because they want to be there, or do you think they're there because they have to be there? And 9 times out of 10, it's because they have to be there. They're still trying to make ends meet. Their retirement plans didn't work out for them, or they didn't have one at all. They didn't plan to retire. So let's think about it. Retirement, like you said, is not an age. They are of age. They just didn't have enough money to actually retire. So they have to keep working. So yes, it is something that you need to be thinking about now, because the money that we're putting into Social Security, they're already using it now. So it's a high chance that we probably won't have that chance to even draw Social Security once we make it to that age. So yes, you need to start thinking about it right now.
Yeah, I mean, times have changed, because like I said, my grandparents said the same thing, and your grandparents were saying that. So being able to depend on that those days have come and gone. So at Key Assets, obviously, you guys have been in business for a few years now, and you've accomplished so much. So what type of services do you guys offer? Because like you said, you saw a need for it. And it's, you guys deal with LLCs, you guys deal with small businesses, with individuals, couples that are putting their finances together. So what type of things are you and your employees trained on, and what type of things do you do? Because, the finance cluster is so big. It's not just accountants. It's not just bankers, even though those are great careers as well. What is it that you guys provide there at your business right there in Ridgeland?
So we do service individuals and business owners. We provide simple services, kind of like budgeting, credit repair. We help people that own businesses with bookkeeping, their accounting needs. We offer tax prep. And then we also do seminars on just basic, financial knowledge, because like I said, in the beginning, I knew pretty much nothing. And it's sad to say, but that's just the reality of things. I really didn't know a whole lot. So we wanted to make sure that we just covered the grounds of people that's just starting, all the way up to people who are in the position where their business or, their personal lives are just soaring financially. So we pretty much cover anything under the financial umbrella, all the way down to like life insurance analysis. We get into estate planning and, different things like that. So
yeah, and also, and you saw a need not only for financial professionals, but you saw a need for diversity in the field, because like you said, you grew up in a rural area, and this is a more diverse area than others, but especially in the Black community, you saw, look, there's not a lot of people that look like me that are doing this. So,
right.
So was that part of getting into this area as well? Because and let's be honest, there was a time when minorities were preyed on and scammed by a lot of financial professionals. So was that part of the reason you got into this field as well, because there was a need to diversify?
Yes, I think that we're still in the time where they're still getting preyed on. If you go to, my hometown and the surrounding towns, you see a lot of payday loan places. You see, a lot where you can get check advances, and that's predatory lending. So they're putting you in a position where they know, if I didn't have the money coming in, 9 times out of 10, when I come in again to pay you back, I'm gonna need you to re-loan this money to me. So it's a never-ending cycle. So I think that people of my color, they were very reluctant to trusting, other people, because they were so much predatory lending. So I do think it was, you know, kind of drive to get people to see, like, and trust in me. You know, being relatable, letting them know that I came from the same, you know, the same place. And the only thing that I'm doing is pretty much letting you know that I am an option. And if you ever wanted to talk about your finances, if you ever had any questions for me, you don't necessarily even have to do business with me, you know, but if I can just educate one person and make a change in their life, I think that was my ultimate goal.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing is, on top of being a financial expert, you're also an entrepreneur. And we have a lot of kids that say, I want to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of them have great ideas. We've had a lot of kids come from Velma Jackson that have opened their own business, even if it was on a part-time basis. But it's like you said, you know, everybody sees the social media side and all the glamorous and fun side. But where a lot of business owners make the mistake is they don't pay attention to the finance side. They don't pay attention to the bookkeeping. So what mistakes have you seen small business owners make, even if they have great customer service skills on the finance side, that causes them to fail?
I think a lot of people, they go into the entrepreneur world with their passion. And most majority of the time, their passion is not numbers. So they don't pay attention to their finances, but their finances pay attention to them. And things tend to fall through the cracks. And once it gets there, it's really, really hard to pull yourself out that hole. So I think when you go into the entrepreneur world, you have to be able to see the whole picture. You know, you have to put yourself in a position where I need to know if this happens, that happens, what's my next move financially? Because a lot of people go out of business just based off, it's not because they didn't have the cash for it, not because they didn't have the, I don't know why I'm echoing, but it's simply because of finances. You know, so you need to have a game plan of how you're going to go in business, and most importantly, how you're going to stay in business.
Yeah, and again, you know, if you're not an expert in that, that's fine. There are companies like you that are there to help and can help companies stay in business. You know, I know you're in it to make a profit, but at the end of the day, you want to see your clients succeed and you want to see them stay in business, especially these small business owners around the Jackson Metro.
That is exactly right. I totally agree.
Yeah, and the other thing about being an entrepreneur is that, you know, people say I want to be my own boss, but you're literally responsible for everything because you run your business. You handle all the decisions in the back as well.
Yeah, so you pretty much wear every hat until you get a team that you can delegate tasks out to. And even then, sometimes, you know, you still have to wear, you know, all the hats. So the entrepreneur world is not just what you see on social media. I think social media is a gift and curse. So, you know, we get to advertise on there, and it is a pretty effective way to reach clientele and let people know what you're doing. However, on the back end and in your back office, you know, it's the ebbs and flow of life. Things are up and things are down, and you have to be mentally tough enough to be able to weather the storm.
Absolutely. Now, before I get to the students' questions, I've already got a couple really good ones we're going to get to.
Okay.
You know, we have to talk about, you know, you in the last few months did have a tragedy in your family, and what you've done is a way to honor your late husband's memory is to create a scholarship through for Jackson State students, for anybody going to Jackson State or at Jackson State. And even though these kids are in ninth grade, this is something that can be available to them. And, you know, we always talk about scholarship money that goes unclaimed. And, you know, and that goes back to financial literacy. People go broke going to college. And every year I have people hit me up saying, hey, I've got some scholarship money to give away. Do you know anybody that wants to apply for this? So tell us a little about this CPAC service scholarship that you started for Jackson State.
So I wanted, the initial plan was to find a way to keep his legacy alive. And I decided to make it a serving scholarship because he was a man of servingship. Like, he not only served his family, he served the community, he served the church, you know, just anyway and anywhere he feel like he could be of service or be a resource, he was always that person. So I felt like the only way that, one of the major ways, I guess I would say, to be able to keep his legacy alive was to, you know, put people in a position financially, once again, that if they wanted to, you know, have the opportunity to go off to college or they needed help, you know, with their books or whatever the case may have been, that he was still serving in some type of way. And I just thought that the scholarship would be a great way to do it. It's specifically tailored to Jackson State students because he is a graduate of Jackson State University. And he was a diehard Tigers fan. He bled blue all day long. So, I said, hey, let's just for right now, tailor it to Jackson State students entering and those who are already enrolled there, and just give them an opportunity to have some extra money for their college needs. So
now, and how would they apply for this?
So we actually have a link on the Key Assets website where they can go on and see all the qualifications for the application, as well as the deadline is actually October 3rd. So it's next week. So if you know anyone that's looking for scholarship money, they have a chance until next week.
Yeah, and I'm not, like I said, I have ninth graders with me now, but this is something that'll be available for when they start making their college decisions. And if they're going to Jackson State, this is something that they can look into because all these scholarships are stackable. And I know you got young kids now, but this is things you're thinking about. But you have the grants, you can get the ACT scholarships, but this is something else that can help offset your costs, because I hear students say all the time, I want to go to college, but my family can't afford it. And that's understandable with the rising tuition cost and the rising cost of attendance. But this is something that you've started to honor your late great husband to really help some of these kids that want to take that step and become more educated and offset those costs that everybody has to deal with.
That's exactly right. And I think another thing students need to understand is scholarship money is money that you don't have to pay back. And I think we have been spoon-fed that we can apply for financial aid and get money, but they are loans. We have to pay those back once we graduate from college. So scholarship money is money that you can get. You don't have to wait until money is dispersed to you. The scholarship money that we're giving out will come in the form of a check in the student's name. So this is for if you need to get toiletries, bedding, supplies, whatever you need going into the college semester, you will already have money to cover those expenses, and you don't have to come out of pocket or wait for your FAFSA to be dispersed. I think that's huge to know, because so many students go to school without, because they are waiting on money from the government to be dispersed to their finance account. So.
Yeah, and then FAFSA is even opening later this year, which I don't get, but that's way above.
And they had some major issues. I had a couple people reach out to me about their FAFSA issues as well. So, and them actually being kicked out of school because of it. So.
And it doesn't even open until December this year. I don't know what they're doing, but that's a whole nother conversation. All right, so I do have some questions for the students, and some of these are great, and these are all ninth graders.
Okay.
The first one is Leah Smith, one of our volleyball players here. And she asked, when you were around the same age as me, and she's 14, what did you have in mind for your future?
Oh, when I was 14, let's see. When I was 14, of course, I was into sport. So I actually wanted to be a track star. I wanted to go to the Olympics. So that's one thing. And I think at that time, I thought I was going to school for anesthesiology. So that's where my head was at that time. Entrepreneurship was not on my mind.
Yeah, it's amazing how often people change their minds. So I think all of us did. Here's another good one. This is Samaya Williamson, one of our volleyball and basketball players. And she asked, how did you know that finance was the best option for you other than for you? And hold on, I'm trying to read this. How did you know finance was the best option for you instead of any of the other careers that needed help? Man, they're laughing at me.
I chose finances just based off my personal experience. So when I was 9 years old, my mom passed away. And so that's how I ended up being with my grandmother and her actually raising me. And I wasn't a part of the financial conversations, but I heard the financial conversations. And as I got older, though I didn't go without, I felt like we could have been in a better financial situation had our finances been organized better before my mom passed away. So long story short, mom passed away. My dad ended up losing the house. We ended up losing the cars, different things like that, simply because our finances wasn't in order. And as I got older, I realized it wasn't because my parents didn't love me. It wasn't because of nothing outside of the fact that nobody taught us the money game. Nobody sat down with my parents and taught them finances. So I took it upon myself to say, hey, this is a great way for me to just be relatable and for people to hear me, because it's not something that somebody told me. It's something that I experienced. I lived this. So that's why I decided to go into finances. It was merely just to stop people. I could just help people not be in the same situation that my family was in after my mom passed away. I thought I was doing a service for my community.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. This is London Jackson, member of our band here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, what made you decide to be an entrepreneur, and how do you deal with your own fears and doubts being a business owner?
So I decided to be an entrepreneur, just like I said, my grandmother raised me, and I knew as I got older, my grandma would get older as well, and I wanted to be there for her like she was there for me. And the only way that I could do that was to work for freedom. And so entrepreneurship just kind of led me that way, because I figured that was the only way that I could have the freedom to be where I needed to be, or where I was needed at the time that I was needed. I also have a daughter. I knew that I wanted to be at doctor's appointments when she started playing sports. I knew that I wanted to be there. So in order to have that freedom of nobody telling me where I can be and when I could be there, was to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. And that's a big pro of entrepreneurship, is you do get to set your own schedule, but you can't be lazy with it. If you want to take, obviously if you want to be involved in your kids' lives, you can do that, but you have to make up for that time that you take off for that. I think that's a big people like, I want to set my own hours. Okay. You still got to do the work. It doesn't mean the hours don't exist. But that's a great point.
Right.
I like this. I like this one. This is Trayvon Willis, one of our football players here at Velma Jackson. And he asked, when you first started your business, how did you get your name and brand out there?
So I pretty much talk to people I know, and because, like I said, you have to build like and trust with people, and you have to be relatable. But once they saw that I was serious about what I was doing, they knew that I came from a good family, and the way that I just simply just carried myself and constantly had the hard conversations with them, they pretty much started telling people. Social media played a huge role in it. I did a lot of seminars at schools, at churches. Just pretty much utilize my resources and my relationships to just let them know that, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm an option. These are the services that we provide. And that's how I got started.
Oh, absolutely. And, it really is starting small. I see a lot of businesses, they grow too fast, too quick. And then it goes back to how much money they're spending. And they're like, I want to open multiple locations. I'm like, why don't you make the first one profitable first?
Right. You have to understand that this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And sometimes you have to run one race and then turn around and run that same race again because you didn't win the first time. And that's totally okay. Being an entrepreneur is kind of scary sometimes, but you have to believe. You're gonna bet on anybody, bet on yourself first. And as long as you know that you can believe in you, everything else just kind of falls in place, having faith and just believing in yourself.
Oh, absolutely, man. I love this question right here. This is Kyman Dawson, and he asked, what would be the best way to structure a business to make it profitable?
So the first thing first, you have to understand is what you're trying to provide to the outside world or to your consumer. Is it something that they really need? A lot of people start business based on passion, but it's not a need-based business, and they wonder why it's not growing. People have to need what you're doing. So first of all, I would just kind of establish what sector am I going to and who needs what I'm offering. And then you start targeting those people. Everybody is not your audience. Everybody not going to buy from you, but enough people will. Everybody don't shop at Walmart, but Walmart's still in business because they know who their target audience is. So that's the first two things you need to do. Make sure you're in a need-based business and know who your target audience is. The next thing is get your finances in order. How am I going to fund this? Is there any scholarships, grants, other funding opportunities out there that I could put myself in a position to apply for? Structuring your business correctly. A lot of people start businesses, but they don't want to do the background work. So I don't know if you all are familiar when the FBA started giving out those grants and stuff when COVID first hit. A lot of people that had businesses wasn't in a position to get that money because their businesses they didn't take the time to sit down with somebody and structure their business correctly to qualify for that money. So I think if to even get started, get it off the ground, those are the first couple of things that I would focus on.
Yeah, and something you made a good point on grants. There are minority business owner grants for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans. So I know we'll have some Asian Americans and Hispanics watching later, and that would be something available for them as well. It is not limited to African Americans.
That is exactly right.
I just got two more from the students. This is William Clay, member of our band here, and he asked, "What is your greatest achievement in your financial career so far?"
My greatest achievement. Oh, that's a good question because I don't know. I guess I would just have to say my greatest achievement is just putting other people in a position to have, the freedom that I have. I sit down and I listen to people and I listen to their needs. I listen to their goals and just what they don't say. And I try my best to get them to see the bigger picture, cast the vision wide enough so other people can see themselves in it. And, just get them to a position of achieving their goals. I think that would have to be my biggest thing. It's not necessarily like about me. It's just seeing other people grow, other people learn, other people achieving things for their families. And like I said, it just kind of go back to serving, just being that go-to person for other people and just helping them achieving their goals. I think that's the biggest thing for me. Being in the financial industry. Yeah.
That's awesome. That was a great segue to this last question. This is from Kelsey Burrell, and she asked, what makes you most happy about your career?
I think that's definitely it. I think you tell people all the time that, I appreciate you. You tell people about gratitude, you tell people that you love them, but I don't think people understand that those are action words. And the only way that you can, get that across to people and make them understand is to show them. So when people come to me and they say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, it's like, let's game plan and actually make it happen, because I'm appreciative that you came to me and allowed me to help you with the service. But in return, I'm going to give you some action to show how much I appreciate you, and that's getting you to your goals.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you as always for taking some time for us. But before we go, a couple things. One, tell us where to find Key Assets Financial and apply for the CPAC scholarship.
Okay. So you can go to www.keyassetsfinancial.com. You will see a box at the top that says scholarships and donations. You will click there, scroll to the bottom, it'll say apply here. And all your qualifications and needs, how to submit the application is on that page.
Awesome. Now, before we go, you have such an amazing story, such a great background. And like you said, you grew up in rural Mississippi. You grew up without a mother, but yet you still became a successful financial entrepreneur. So even if these kids don't want to get into the finance industry, even if they don't want to be an entrepreneur, how important is it right now to pay attention to financial issues, because you saw it with your own two eyes in your own life, how it can be detrimental to their life?
I think that is extremely important. Like I said, you make financial decisions every day. And sometimes you have to make the decisions that you don't want to make, or you didn't know you were going to have to make. So it's very, very important to, one, just know what's going on in the world. Two, know what your options are financially. And three, execute. Don't sit on it. Don't wait. Don't say, hey, I got another day. I'll do it tomorrow. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. So.
Love it. And they can come by and see you. You're right. You can't miss it. You're right there off of Lake Harbor in Ridgeland. Very easy to find. If any parents need some financial advice, financial counseling, starting a business, you guys are great to stop in there, hit the website, make an appointment. I know you guys would love to help them.
Yes, absolutely. We're here. If I had to leave you with anything today, it would definitely be a good person. Always be a good person. Always handle your business, because at the end of the day, that's the best legacy to leave behind.
Absolutely. Well, again, Cynathia Cortese, thank you so much for taking some time for us. You're just really doing some great things. Talk to you soon, my friend.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. See you, buddy.
All right. Bye.